I wish you guys could see our
podcast
group
second.
chat. It's our chat between me and Justin. It's just theme song related.
It's theme song lectures from Sachin about the
He
mistakes
didn't put
I've
it.
made in
He
cutting
cut
it.
it. He didn't put it at the end of the episode. One episode. You gotta come on.
I'm working on it.
These two brown guys love basketball. Brown guys love basketball. Who doesn't love basketball? So let's talk basketball. I said, let's talk basketball.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to the Brown Guys Basketball Podcast. We have a loaded show for you today. We have a reel this just in. What was it? Less than an hour ago?
I love it. I love it. Our group chat blew up.
Yeah, it was big news. And as Canadians, it was, well, we'll talk about it because there's some hurtful, but also, almost like escaping the pain type of news coming out of Brooklyn. So if you haven't heard, Steve Nash is no longer the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. And word from Woj, who is a very reliable source that we rely on for everything, is that Ime Udoka is in talks to become the new Nets head coach. And I mean, I said it in the group chat and I'll say it here. Just addicted to controversy is this organization.
Brooklyn, they're addicted to it, and it's just going to follow them around. But you know what? Honestly, if they're not playing good basketball, maybe this is intelligent that people are going to talk about them regardless. Butts are going to be in seats. I wonder if this is intentional. But what's crazy to me is about a month ago, whenever, Stephen A. Smith on the podcast, everybody was talking about Ime Udoka, and he was like, they were like, why is this a suspension? Why isn't it fired? Even though we don't know what happened. We hear it's crazy. We don't know the actual situation. Stephen A was like, I think they suspended him because KD wanted him in Brooklyn and he wanted to get rid of Steve Nash and get Ime Udoka. So they suspended him so Brooklyn couldn't get him. And now,
wow,
like, that's looking pretty smart. Stephen A is actually on point with a lot of stuff. I mean, obviously he yells a lot, but he's that to me is like one of those moments where it's like, there's something going on in Utah.
Yeah, Brian Windhorst said exactly the same thing. Yeah.
Windhorst. Yeah.
No, that was I didn't know that Stephen A had said that. I totally missed that. So that's really amazing because it kind of proves the one that players do end up getting their way more often than not in the NBA. It's like it's the league of the player now. It's player driven. And then two, I mean, the Ime Udoka situation is so mysterious to us. We know that there's a woman, we know that there's like an affair involved. But it's been months now and we don't know the full details. Meanwhile, in San Antonio with Primo, we got all the details immediately. You know what I mean?
Like right away. It's crazy that something had to happen that we can never know. Because who is it who went on their podcast and had to apologize for defending Ime Udoka and then came back afterwards and was like, actually, I heard about the whole thing, guys. I was wrong. It's nuts.
I was it Richard Jefferson or
no,
I don't know who it was. I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember who did it. But
yeah, I can see him.
But the point of it all is that like it doesn't matter. One, in sports, we've learned this time and time again. It's not that it doesn't matter what you do. It's the crime needs to be really severe for you not to get a second chance. And I'm not opposed to people getting second chances, but this one's kind of unique because we don't even know really what the first chance mistake was. You know what I mean?
Totally. And it's not even like it happened a year ago where people have time to reconcile. All this stuff is happening. This just happened. And in society, the way we are right now, if you get ousted like that, you're not coming back that quickly. But Brooklyn just loves this stuff. It's shocking to me now that they didn't get Russell Westbrook on their team because if they love this kind of drama, then this just seems like something out of a movie.
You're right,
you wouldn't
though,
believe.
right? We didn't get the Ime Udoka. I guess I'm going to say this name so many times. We didn't get Ime's apology tour and the I need to find family and I need to rectify. We didn't get any of that. We went straight from just leaving Boston under mysterious circumstances to now the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. And I feel like that middle part is the most important part. Most of these agents would be preaching, but I mean, he must be a damn good coach, hey?
I just wonder, it couldn't be, he must be, well, he was so good.
He was, yeah, you're right.
You know? And so, but honestly, now looking at it, it must not have been as bad as we all thought. Like Matt Barnes, it was Matt Barnes who came out and said that.
Oh,
He was like, oh, it's crazier than we thought. it must have been not as crazy as we thought it was, because if you can come back that quickly from it and somehow still keep it quiet.
Well, let me counterpoint that. If he was to become the new head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers or the Denver Nuggets, let's just say like a competitive team that needs a little boost, I would agree with that. But if you're becoming the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets, I think their bar for far is a lot higher than the rest. You know what I mean? Like they have way more acceptance level than one of these other well-run organizations might have.
But it's not about them. If this ever gets out and it ends up being awful, and then Brooklyn, like in terms of your publicity, you can't take him on even as a crazy organization if it's that bad, because if it ever does come out that he did something, or you're then working with this guy like Primo, who's just exposing himself to people, which is just ridiculous. What a ridiculous way to get out of the league, to do it to enough people that you have to leave, Primo.
Yeah.
But it couldn't have been that bad, because from a publicity standpoint, you have stockholders, you have all this stuff invested in your team. Well, maybe not stockholders, but you have
season ticket holders are stockholders in a way,
exactly.
Right? Like it's not exactly the same, but
those people, you have so many people involved in this team running the way that it is, that publicity matters if you're hiring a monster, or somebody who did something.
And we don't know, so I don't want to paint that picture, but I will say one thing: not a lot of teams have a Kyrie Irving holding a shield over you as the like I'm still the worst thing happening here type of situation. So if ever there was a team that he could slide into and not be the story for more than a week, like we don't know what Kyrie's going to tweet out next week. We don't, you know what I mean?
Today, I don't know what Kyrie's going to do today, man.
It's just
what is, dude, like at one point it's like just, I can't even talk about it. It gets me so mad, and I don't want to make this into like a political podcast, because I will real fast.
Yeah.
But it just makes me so, you're right in that's the point, that Kyrie is the worst part still about Brooklyn, and they just hired Ime because they're like, you know what, this will get swept under the rug next week because Kyrie is going to, I don't know.
They don't even know what Kyrie's going to do, but they know he is going to do. You know what I mean?
He's going to do.
Yeah, like
he can't not do.
So I feel,
but, this goes to a point we made really early in a podcast. We made a point really early that if you go out and you play well, you get forgiven for so much.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You get forgiven for so much. Even like if you played bad NBA for 10 years and somehow you still made a team, and all of a sudden you're scoring 25 a night, you're a legend comeback king.
Yeah,
people forget about those 10 years like that.
It's the Colin Kaepernick thing is what I always go back to. Colin Kaepernick, if he was playing at the level he was playing at when they went to the NFC Championship game and was kneeling at that point, he would have found a team the next day.
No question.
He would have had a team 100%. It might have been a New York team, a team with a more left-leaning fan base, but he would have had a team. The distraction is always worth it when you're winning. Yes. But because Colin Kaepernick was now on the down end of his career, had fallen off, wasn't a legitimate starter in the league in terms of the top 15 guys. Now you start to lose the I guess the willingness of the organization to put up with nonsense. And I don't even think his stuff was nonsense. That's the sad part.
And also his haters then have the ability to find a way to oust him easier because they can make him look bad.
100%.
And if you have a battered game or two, they can come at you. So you have to it sucks that notoriety matters so much in all of our industries, in all walks of life, especially if you're a person of stature, that you have to be doing well at that in order to be able to get away with so much garbage.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts. I see in the acting industry all the time that so many terrible people get away with so much garbage because they have success.
Yeah.
It's just
it's the box office, right? Like if they put butts in seats, then it doesn't matter what they're doing behind the scenes, as long as, and I don't know what the line is, but we all we know the line when we see it. I think we know, but sometimes the line for the bigger names is a lot further than we expect it to be.
Oh, Weinstein was getting away with so much stuff for years beforehand. I'm sure. Like in Hollywood, it was actually a big joke that Weinstein's nuts.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't know him personally. I didn't know anybody in the situation, but you just hear about them. It was in TV shows. Right. And then all of a sudden it takes a big movement for it to be like, okay, you got to go. And, I'm sure a lot of people were like, oh no, that's a lot of money. They were still worried about it.
Oh, I'm sure tons of people were not happy about that situation coming to the light. Right. Like, but
totally.
It's unfortunate, but I will say, if the Ime Udoka stuff comes out and it's not, again, we know, but we don't know, and I don't want to speculate. Let's just assume that it's being resolved behind the scenes. What do we think basketball wise this is going to do for the Nets?
You know what? As we talked about, I love Steve Nash. You know my affinity for him. I think he's amazing. But the way he played basketball was push, push, push on the offensive end. And the reason the Suns never got to the place they did, while they changed a lot in the NBA, is because they didn't play defense. And that's exactly what I'm seeing with the Brooklyn Nets, that they never had a defensive identity. They could score the lights out. They have Kyrie and Kevin Durant. They can get you 35, 40 a night, both of them. And they can score the ball, the whole team. And they're still waiting on Seth Curry. But they don't have a defensive mindset. But Ime Udoka in Boston, as we saw, that team was great on defense. They were long. They ran out to the wings. They played really well. And I think that's what he's going to bring to that team, because the reason Phoenix didn't succeed was because they ran and didn't have any defense. And a lot of teams in the NBA now that run figured out how to play defense at while playing that same type of basketball.
Yeah.
So now if you've kind of created that scoring culture there, Ime comes in, puts his offense in and the defense. I think they might be doing well.
I think the one very interesting player in all of this is actually Ben Simmons, because I would argue before Ben Simmons got there, he was there last year, but not playing. I would argue they didn't have an opportunity to have a defensive identity because they didn't have the roster. Like KD was being asked to play 40 plus minutes a night on offense and guard all 5 positions. It's not something he's done in his career, and I don't blame him for kind of getting tired, right? But yeah. Ben Simmons is probably the mold of someone that a guy like Ime Udoka would like make in a lab. You know what I mean? Like someone who can not only distribute the ball extremely well at his high end, but play defense at the level that Ime is going to need, because Kyrie's not that. And KD, you're going to want to limit, is coming off of major injuries the last few years before. You don't want to put all that on KD. So I think Ben Simmons might be a sneaky, fantasy ad in terms of getting a little bit of jump in his step in the next maybe 4 to 5 weeks.
I agree. And it was a tough situation to have Ben come in. Ben, who's obviously, not always the most teachable, right? Yeah. To a new coach who was trying to figure out all these personalities with all this stuff that was happening behind the scenes. Now you have a coach that actually really likes to teach, really likes to do the right thing, is about their age. So they're not going to be looking at him as like this, oh my God, old guy that's preaching. I mean, he's not young, but he just feels like he's one of a player's coach, because he is. And a lot of times you need a player's coach that has done it, that has a proven track record, that KD wants there for sure. It really speaks a lot to the team. And I think that's going to be a driving force in a lot of motivation behind maybe getting old version of Ben back.
The one thing I think is interesting, whenever you have someone coming off of something like this, one, you get them on their best behavior. 100% Ime is going to come in as the most focused coach in the league for the next month. And then 2, the team, generally speaking, I don't have the numbers to back it up, but I would say anecdotally that teams that get a new coach, you usually see a pep in their step for the next couple of weeks, because there's a new vibe in the locker room. There's new energy. And we know KD didn't want Nash there. We found that out in the summer. So now the team, I think in the next couple of weeks, I would not want to be the opponents of the Brooklyn Nets for the next 4 or 5 games.
Agreed. 100% agreed. And I think Nash I think he was already on his last legs as the season came in. If they didn't play really well, if they were 2-3 right now, they still would have fired him. If they, I think it was just on the way out. They just needed another coach that they could bring in that was proven, and they wouldn't have to deal with kind of too many growing pains. And I don't know why Ime's that guy, but he just feels like that guy.
I think you're right, because you normally don't see a coach get fired off a win. But that to me tells me more about availability than anything else, because when you win a game and then fire a coach, that means something changed in the last 48 hours that hadn't been available to you, right?
Great point. So they knew.
Yeah, they knew. It's just a matter of when, not if. But the next thing I want to talk about in all of this is Steve Nash. Now, we both love Steve Nash, good Canadian kid from BC. And one thing I would have to say is I did not think he did a very good job coaching that team in terms of the basketball side. I found when I watched the Nets, and you can tell me if you noticed this too, or if I'm wrong, you tell me, I didn't see a lot of sets. I didn't see a lot of plays being run. It was more, especially when Kyrie and KD were both healthy. It was more like I go, you go, I go, you go type of basketball, which was great in the 90s. But it's really weird to me because that was not how Steve Nash played. But I don't know why that was the way that he coached.
The thing is because on his offensive end, it was you run. First, you run the ball, you go up and you shoot threes, you try to make quick baskets, and he had those guys. But then when you get in an offensive set in the half court, he's like, okay, I've got these two stars that can do it. You know, because when he played basketball, it was in the half court, it was pick and roll, pick and roll, pick and roll, pick and roll until something would happen.
Yeah, and abuse the centers, and then you have Amari on the post. Yeah, totally.
And other than that, it would be run the ball. And I think they were doing a very similar thing. They don't have the center that they didn't have Amari down there, you know, or they didn't have Sean Marion playing defense as well. A big part of that Suns team was Sean Marion. He was the guy that was like kind of holding it down, even though they didn't play much defense.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have a lot of those anchors that Suns team had, but they were playing a very similar form of basketball. While, don't get me wrong, it was very different than Phoenix. They still had the same ideology, and you could tell that they were scoring. They were scoring out the house. So I don't even think offense was their problem. I think you have to kind of, in this NBA, there's so much talent on every team coming in every night that you have to be able to stop the ball. You have to be able to play defense, and you have to be able to tire the team out. If other teams get confidence in the first quarter that they can score any time on you, they feel like they're going to win because most teams now can score.
Yeah. I think in the regular season, especially, the three ball is kind of the great equalizer that the NBA didn't have before. You can have bad teams get hot behind the arc, and it can win a game for you that you otherwise didn't have available to you in a game where you're both shooting twos. Like, the separation is so much wider when one team's hitting threes. But I guess on the defensive end, yeah, Nash, I would argue he never really had the pieces in Brooklyn. I would say you're right that they asked way too much of Durant. And then two, bringing in guys like Blake Griffin, LaMarcus Aldridge. It was all guys who were well past guys you would want to have coming off the bench for 12 minutes, not 26 minutes.
I still think they had enough. I think they've always had enough. I just think there's so much drama, and I think there's so much like stuff surrounding these teams. When you don't have like somebody that leads teams, a leader of these teams, like a lot of teams can be built around knowledge. A lot of players that have knowledge of basketball and have done it for so long. If you show up with Kyrie and KD in their prime and you build around that knowledge, intelligence, rebounding, they had great rebounding at that time. In did they have Jared Allen that one year?
They did, right? But then they traded him in one of the most ridiculous moves so they could keep DeAndre Jordan the starter, which was one of the most lopsided trades in the last 5 years I've seen.
Because I think Jared Allen. I've been saying him for like 10 years now that as soon as he got in the league, I was like, watch, this guy's going to be amazing. I've been telling Rishi, like I've been screaming in his ear.
Yeah.
But when you have those two studs and you surround them with guys that can play basketball and a lot of really good role players at that time, I think they've always had enough, but they've just never had any cohesion. Watching the lack of cohesion in those teams because of coaching, I think is very obvious.
Yeah, no, I'm very interested to see what they look like now. I mean, the addition of Royce O'Neal with Ben Simmons, their starting five with Seth Curry, I think is still going to be a little bit awkward, just in terms of if you end up having Seth and Kyrie playing the 1 and 2 on defense, that's a lot of teams are going to feast on that. So I think you're going to probably have to move Ben Simmons up and stick Seth at the 3 and kind of hope that you can. I'm almost thinking you have to stick one of them in the corner at all times on D. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Just wait.
It's really hard to have both of those guys play both guard positions, but it's going to be fun to watch.
I also have a lot less patience for now personnel issues because I've seen this NBA is so talented. I've seen so many teams where their personnel look like not just even Golden State, which is not what I'm referencing. I'm talking about Toronto, watching Toronto, they built a team together, watching Memphis, watching Atlanta, watching these teams that feasibly from nothing because of good coaching and playing basketball correctly have skyrocketed and become fantastic NBA teams. So when it comes to personnel, I don't have as much leeway in terms of, we don't have it. Because I think I've seen so many teams that look like they don't have it. You know, you just play right.
I think the only issue with that is a lot of the teams you're talking about, they build it through the draft. And when you're a team like Brooklyn, even the Lakers, the problem you have is a lot of times those type of players are the ones you have to give up to bring in the superstar. And you need to get lucky where you are a Milwaukee who drafts a Giannis and then develops a Middleton and then you trade for a Drew Holiday, but you didn't have to give up everything to get that core. You know what I mean?
But that's what I mean. That's the right way to do it. And constantly trying to give up your core to get this one or two players that'll be like, okay, then now we're a team. If you consistently do that, you're destroying not only the franchise, the entire infrastructure of your team for future years to come, because everything's gone then. But if you do that, if you play the long game, you play the long game, and the long game maybe 3 or 4 years. It feels long at the time, but it's not. You build this structure, this culture, and again, like we've talked about, chemistry is everything.
The other side to it, though, is a lot of teams have done that and failed pretty miserably. We've seen a lot of teams build from within, and just you realize when you get to the NBA Finals that a superstar wins a championship more often than not, right?
Yeah. And
I
so,
mean,
like
as Raptors fans, we know the DeRozan and Lowry experiment was a success every regular season. Like that looked like it should work, but once you got to the playoffs and you saw the gap between the best and them, you have to kind of pivot, which is why I like what the Raptors did. They went for it. But this was a different time when superstars, when you're able to get Kawhi for Jakob Poeltl, a first-round pick, and DeMar DeRozan.
Hey, Jakob is great.
Jakob he's a good player. But
what I'm saying, like you said, with KD and Kyrie on this team, the way that they play basketball and the way they are playing basketball right now, I have less, I guess, leeway for their lack of ability to get there.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And the other thing that Brooklyn had, which I think was the big downfall that we talked about, was the Jared Allen trade. I would love to see what this team looked like if they just didn't commit to DeAndre Jordan. You know what I mean?
Jared Allen is so good. Getting rid of him, I can't believe they didn't have that foresight. I can't believe people didn't have Jared Allen foresight. Because he's an old school player, and they thought that maybe he was not the type of player they wanted for their system, but he does everything, and he's athletic. He can run the floor, he can rebound. He can shot block. He does everything your team needs that you might not see.
I think they did have the foresight, but they were in year one of KD after the injury. And you're in year one of like, everything is going well. These superstars are happy. Let's keep them happy. Sure, we can give up Jared Allen if you guys want to start DeAndre. Big deal.
Then that's
we'll make
not
it
foresight.
Work. No, but I'm saying I think that they were blinded by having KD and Kyrie more than I don't think they didn't believe in Jared Allen because they drafted him, right? Like they must have.
So you're
something.
saying blinded means a lack of sight.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I do think if they could go back in time,
listen.
Yeah, if they could go back in time, they definitely don't make that trade.
Yeah,
and it's an interesting what if because they lost to the Bucks, and I imagine a player like Jared Allen would be not that he could stop Giannis, but what did they lack in the Bucks series? Size. Like they could not, you know what I mean? So
preach.
Yeah. So
exactly.
Okay, so what do we think? I'm one who didn't think Jason Kidd would get another head coaching job after the Bucks kind of fiasco. It didn't go well, and then he was an assistant for a while. Do you think that Nash is in that boat where he would want to become an assistant? Because he has a lot going on for him off the court. I mean, he basically runs the workout scene in Vancouver. As someone who lives there, I've seen like Nash is everywhere.
Steve Nash everywhere.
Yeah. So, like, do you think he's someone who would want to toil on the sidelines, or do you think it's kind of one and done for him for coaching?
That's a good question. I think this must have been so tumultuous for him. I think this must have been such a disaster. And honestly, I think before this, what was kind of bad about his reputation? He didn't really have of anything. Not that it's bad. Honestly, I don't think I'm blaming Steve Nash even for this situation. I think this team is full of a lot of people who cause a lot of issues. So he's putting in a bad situation, and maybe he's just one of those scapegoats. But I think maybe you want to take some time, reevaluate. But I do think he's got merit. I do think watching his offensive, the way that he did set up offenses, like even though you have those two guys, they were scoring the lights out. They were, and you know what? Again, maybe I can't put that on Nash. That's a tough question. This was tough for him. You're right. I don't think he would want to be an assistant.
No, I don't. I don't think
doesn't feel like an assistant guy.
He doesn't, and he's someone because he's so successful off the court anyway that it doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like coaching is his life. It was more like a great opportunity presented itself, and you kind of go with it. I don't think I don't think we see Nash head coach again. I'll be honest with you. And I wouldn't blame him. And also reputation wise, getting fired by the Nets for Ime Udoka. I don't know what that does to your reputation. I don't think it does anything bad. You know what I mean?
No,
Like that.
good. You're totally right. Yeah.
That
It just was
dumpster
being
fire of
involved. You're
yeah.
involved in this drama surrounded. You're this good Canadian dude who did a lot in the NBA, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is trash.
Yeah. So I think in this instance, Nash is going to be safe, and time heals a lot. Your reputation as a player usually supersedes it as a coach. I mean, I don't know if you guys know anything about hockey, but Wayne Gretzky was the head coach of the Arizona Coyotes, and it was a disaster. And no one talks or cares about it. Like no one cares. Yeah, it's because it's you think about him as the player, and I still think about Nash as a player. I'm almost glad he's out, to be honest.
Yeah,
because I just want it to be a forgotten memory.
Good. You know what? It's done. It was quick. It was a burn. Let's call it a day.
Yeah.
We basically didn't get to see him coach the real team ever.
No, we did. And what was the real team? Changed 4 times. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like legitimately. Again, and again, if granted they didn't play together, if Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving aren't going to get there, like that is their fault. I'm not going to blame any coach in the NBA. If you three are on a team, figure it out.
Some would argue that if they did get to play a full season together, they would have figured it out. But I mean, ifs and buts, we have no idea. We'll never know, right?
Have any of them ever figured it out on any of their ever teams besides
playing with someone else that had already figured it out? If you think about it, Steph
legitimately
with KD
that was it.
And Kyrie with LeBron, they had never figured it out without those two. So
yep.
And James Harden's still trying to figure it out.
Go find some champions and hope.
Yeah. So, I mean, we obviously talked about the Nets here because it's the big news, but we're kind of burying my lead, which is the LA Lakers are in the win column. Let's go. They finally did it against a good Denver team. Unexpected, to be honest with you.
And I'm so happy. Look, this is crazy to me that I'm happy about this because I know this is your lead, but God, Russell Westbrook.
Oh, here we go.
Russell Westbrook. Let me just say the first game he came off the bench, he had a great first half. Second half was not so good, but his plus minus, he had one of the best plus minus on the team. He was 0. Everybody else was negative. Everybody else was negative.
Yeah.
But that's good on the bench. This Russell Westbrook off the bench, 18, 8, and 8. Justin, plus 18.
I know.
The highest on the team.
I know.
This man needs the ball in his hand. This is crazy to me because we came on this podcast like being Golden State versus the Lakers. If Russell Westbrook starts playing well off the bench, I'm going to want them to win. And that's insane to me. And I'm so sorry because I've been preaching this for so long to everybody. And I have been honestly ostracized by the basketball community for now months because I've said he's still good. He still has ability. And it's so nice.
There's something about you and old point guards. You just have this affinity for them.
No, he's not old. That's the thing. An old point guard, I know when they fall off and they don't have it anymore and they're just out there and I'm like, I want them to do well. This guy is not that to me. This guy, as we've seen, has so much of 18, 8, and 8 and 31 minutes off the bench. That is a star. And that was
he did good. It's just I loved, quote unquote, loved him telling us the entire time that it was happening. What was happening, you know what I mean?
That's who he is.
Like we have 0 wins, bro. I need you to calm down a little bit. But I agree with you that what we saw in that game was the ideal version of it. But I'm not saying we're going to get it every game because I don't think we're going to get it every game. But
why do you think I'm so happy right now? I'm taking it.
You take it, yeah. But it's one of those things where I really think that that is what the Lakers are going to hang their hats on until they can find a move and see if they can. They're going to try and muster up some wins here. They need to get some in the early months. You could be out of the playoff race by end of November here if you don't get a few wins, because 1-5, you're behind the 8 ball quick. And that's probably why the Nets moved so quickly as well, right? When you're 1-5, it gets away from you and then it's hard to catch up. But I could see it working for a little bit. I think the only problem is the more it works, the more Russ will start to think he shouldn't be coming off the bench, because that's the mentality he has always had.
But he took this. Didn't hear anything negative about this situation yet from him at all. But I think the way he was playing, as bad as he was playing, because again, like I said, if you're starting with LeBron, you have to play a very specific brand of basketball. He gets the ball in his hand and then gets to finish the game here, and he's playing well. He knew how bad he was playing. You could see it. He was feeling it. If he finds a way to get a new lease on life and he knows increases his trade value again,
Yeah.
right? If he knows that this is the reason why he's going to get his stats, his ability, and his positive publicity, it only behooves him to stay off the bench and keep doing what he's doing and then be the savior in LA. Because the crowd was chanting for him. That's what they wanted, because they all want it.
I'll tell you one thing about Russ. He's the only player I can think of that I can tell is happy to be on a middling team as long as he's running the team. You know what I mean? Like it's I know he wants to win, but he wants to win on the terms of him being the focal point of the offense and not having to be the most points on the team, but just the ball in his hands. Like I think he was happier in Washington than I'd seen him, and even in OKC. But whereas in Houston, they had a better chance of winning, but he was not a happy player because it wasn't the way he wants to win.
You're coming with Russell Westbrook, you get it's a double-edged sword, right? You get a guy that plays this way, but that's it. If he plays any other differently than this way, it's not going to work for him. So he needs
100%.
to do it. And as a coach, I think you have to release Russell Westbrook. Putting Jamal Crawford off the bench, all these guys that came off the bench afterwards, because it's not about Manu Ginobili. It's not about starting them and having them do it. It's about what time do I release them, because they can't play a different way, and they won't, because this is how they're built to destroy, attack relentlessly with the ball in their hand.
Hey, Russell Westbrook against second unit. I mean, there's something there. It's not like,
and I've been saying that but people have been saying no. But
the issue is we didn't
year.
believe in him to be able to be willing to do it. You know what I mean? That was the issue. It wasn't that we didn't think he could do it. It's that the willingness to come off the bench, the willingness to be the
No. I was saying to everybody, he still has merit and ability, and everybody's like, no, he's washed. He can't do it anymore. That's what everybody was saying.
I think he's not a good starter. Like I don't think Russ is like unable to play. He can't shoot. He had a good shooting game, but he can't shoot. Like, let's be real. He has
I think
a broken jump shot.
He just needs momentum. He needs to play. You're right. You're not wrong in that he's not the best shooter. But if he's in the flow of the offense and playing, it's not even about what he's good and bad at. It's about releasing him, because everything happens when like he's allowed to use the force in the way that he needs to. Right? He can't be under a master. He's not a Padawan. He needs to be able to release and go off as himself. He's the Sith Lord.
Here to destroy the Lakers.
He's Darth Maul. Russell Westbrook is Darth Maul. You release him, right? You don't tell him. You say, hey, I need these two guys gone.
Oh, I thought you meant you cut him.
No, I mean, some team's going to cut him.
Yeah.
I don't want to. But also it increases his trade value, which is really nice. And then maybe he'll go to a team that, can use his talents for the next couple of years that he still has.
Yeah, I mean,
but LeBron was a plus minus that game. That was Russell Westbrook's game.
It was the Russ game. Not to steal a NFL quote, but Sachin is saying, "Let Russ cook," and so
let him cook.
All right. So Lakers have a couple home games coming up. I potentially might be going to the Friday game. Going to LA with my friends. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it work, but if I am able to go, I'll definitely shoot some footage there. Maybe get some new images for the theme song. Kind of upgrade
exactly
there.
what I was thinking.
I know that's where your head was at. Yeah. So that should be fun.
Only about the theme song. I'm always about the
never
theme song.
About anything else. This theme song first.
I wish you guys could see our group
second.
chat. It's our chat between me and Justin. It's just theme song related.
It's theme song lectures from Sachin about the mistakes I've made in cutting
it. He didn't put it at the end of the episode. One episode. You gotta come on.
I'm working on it. Okay, I'm doing my best with the theme song. So we have a new segment here, Sachin suggested segment. I'm just gonna give one preface that we call ourselves the Brown Guys Basketball Podcast. So at some point we had to embrace the brown part of it, and so Sachin, take the floor.
This segment is called the Triple R Beast Mode segment. If you haven't seen the movie Triple R, it's on Netflix. It's a masterpiece. It's the best movie of all time. And out of respect for the greatness that is that movie, I have now a new segment called the Triple R Beast Mode segment, and I'm going to keep doing it throughout the season. My Triple R segment this year, I will be talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo. He is my beast mode for this because his Milwaukee Bucks, I'm going to be the guy that talks about Milwaukee all year, because we never talk about them until the All-Star break and afterwards when we have to look at their record. but I love watching play. And he's 6-0 without Middleton, who I think is the most underrated player in the NBA. Also, Giannis, like, watching him play is beautiful. Watching the way that team plays, and he's able to beast and still be a great player. Listen to these stats: 31, 34, 30, 43, 44 points, 7, 17, 14, 14, 12 rebounds, assists, all shooting over 50% from the field, playing defense, playing offense, doing everything for his team. Also, he's the nicest guy in the NBA. Watching his brother pick something out of his nose before the game for 3 minutes was the nicest reminder of who Giannis is. And then he goes on the court and he's an absolute beast and crushes his other team. And when Middleton comes back, that team is going to be sensational. I don't know how anybody's going to beat them. If they're 6-0 right now without him, they're just going to crush it. So he's my beast. I'm so proud of watching him play because he's such a good guy and where he came from, and watching him juggernaut everybody on the court by himself this year. That is my triple R beast mode segment, is Giannis Antetokounmpo.
So, you're not going to hear an argument from me. I love Giannis. You know how I feel about Giannis.
Where's this butt coming from?
The butt is it's about Middleton. You said this is the second time I heard you say he's the most underrated player in the NBA. Correct?
Yes. Correct.
I find it interesting that last episode we did a draft and you had plenty of opportunities to take him on your team. And it was me who got Chris Middleton, if I'm not mistaken.
I said the most underrated player in the NBA currently. I didn't say all time.
I'm just
Also,
saying the guy talking about underrated Chris Middleton. You're not seeing
but of all time, no disrespect to Middleton. We're talking, that was an all-time list. Also, you know what? If we're gonna bring that up, my friend messaged me and he was like, "This dude, an episode ago, said Kyrie Irving, all he had was handles, and he couldn't do it, and then drafts him because he's playing well the next week afterwards as his best second of all time point guard."
Hold on, counterpoint. I specifically said when I drafted him that we are getting all the players at their peak of their powers. So when I took Kyrie, I've been open how good he was in that Warrior series with LeBron. My issue with Kyrie is outside of LeBron, what has he been in terms of team winning? That has been my issue with Kyrie.
But he's not going to be playing with LeBron on that team that he's with. You talked about LeBron, him needing LeBron.
Yeah, I just assumed by putting him around all of those good players, that would be like excellence. But your friend could be right. Like, it could be a complete disaster.
I wasn't going to bring it up, but if you're trying to call
your friend
Middleton,
Jewish?
No,
I'm just okay because
100%.
I wouldn't blame him for his take if he was after what Kyrie's been doing.
I would blame anybody right now on any take they have negatively on Kyrie besides basketball. We're talking about him in basketball here, but my God, it is hard to.
Hey, shout out to the guys on the sideline with the "Stop Anti-Semitism" T-shirts. Loved it. It was so perfect.
God,
so
I love NBA fans sometimes.
I do like that your friends are listening and calling me out on my my BS because
I need someone. Do every week. But I was
perfect.
like, you know what? It keeps them listening. Shout out to you guys that are all listening. That I don't talk about them often because then they yell at me afterwards about like, dude, what's going on with? I'm like, no, me and Jess, we talk about a lot and we're gonna keep doing it. This is us.
This, and I promise you, it won't be the first and it won't be the last time I accidentally on purpose contradict myself.
Oh, you and me, that's what this is about. We are going to be right and wrong all season. And that might be my favorite thing. We got to call each other out, keeping each other honest. The only reason I'm this excited about Westbrook right now is because I am not even close to 30% sure that he's going to do it again.
When you're saying we're going to be right and wrong all season, I keep thinking I'm so excited to be right about something. I can't wait for the day that I'm right about something. It hasn't come yet, but like one of these days.
Yes.
You're
right about a lot.
No, I appreciate that. But we like to do a fun thing at the end of the episode. Last time we did a draft. We've had a lot of fun. I saw something that kind of got popular here on TikTok and YouTube, which is basketball experts talking about NBA 2K rankings. Now, 2K came out last month, and I think they've had one update. I'm not sure if they've had two, but I know they've had one update on the rankings. So I wanted to give Sachin the opportunity to hear some of these rankings for the first time and give his reaction, because as NBA fans, we all know 2K is the definitive ranking of players. There is no other ranking in the world other than 2K.
That's it.
And
without 2K, we don't know how good they are.
We know that because the players take it so seriously. How many times have we heard players bitch and moan on Twitter and in interviews about their 2K ranking? So,
hey, I would be pissed too.
Yeah, I would be as well.
Yeah.
So we know the
mad.
mains. First of all, I'm gonna hit you with an easy one. Who do you think is?
Let me just be fair to the audience that
Yeah.
I do play 2K. I do have it, but I don't know actively anybody's rankings because I play my player, which I go through the thing and I'm playing as myself. You know, when they go through the league as it is, but I actually haven't played the game enough to know anybody's actual rankings.
And so, and to be fair as well, 2K is one of those things where unless you actively search out the rankings when you're in the settings, you're not really checking rankings of players other than when you're playing as that team. So it's kind of hard to like have it memorized and know who the number 1, number 2 is. I mean, we'll kind of have an idea, but yeah, it's not something that unless you look up the rankings, you don't really check it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So but
they're also flawed. Those rankings are flawed.
No, they're perfect. We've already established that. There's no flaw in 2K's rankings. So who do we think is number 1? That one, I'm just curious what you have as who he is. Just to give you an idea, 97, and then 2 through 6 are all 96s. So this guy is just 1 inch above the rest.
Jokic or Giannis?
Who are you picking? 2-time MVP or your MVP?
Yeah, that's tough. Because I'm thinking about 2K ratings and athleticism. Although Jokic is a better, he's a shooter, he's a passer.
They count 3-point shots in their rankings.
They do.
So there's you got.
I'm gonna say Jokic.
Well, Sachin, if you're gonna do a segment called Triple R and give a shout out to Giannis, then you should probably stick to your guns because that's who it was.
Damn it.
Rough start. Yeah, Giannis is number 1.
I'm gonna fail at this one. I'm botching this one.
It's a tough one. It's funny. This is my favorite kind of segment because I have the list in front of me and I just get to make fun of you for whatever you get wrong, and no one will know whether I knew what it was beforehand anyway, right?
It's terrible.
So
I've set myself up for failure.
We got Giannis at 97, and then KD, Steph, LeBron, Jokic, and Embiid are all 96s. Interesting omission. We have Luka Doncic on his own at number 7 at 95. So they have Luka one ranking below those 6. So what do we think Luka is in? Like in my eyes, I'd put Luka in that class on
for
2K.
Sure. I completely agree with you. Even over Embiid. I love Embiid. I think he's a great player. But if I were to switch 2 players from that list, it would be Embiid and Luka.
And Luka,
because if Jokic is on that list, I think Luka should be on that list. They're the same player, just height difference.
So if I had to give you the next 3 players, 3 players, 8, 9, and 10 in 2K, I'm going to list off 5 guys, and I need you to tell me who the 3 are in 8, 9, and 10 spot. Okay.
Okay.
I'm not going to give them in any order. I'm just going to give it random. So we've got Jimmy Butler, Kawhi Leonard, Ja Morant, Devin Booker, Jason Tatum. Who of those 5 do you think 2K has ranked 8, 9, and 10?
Give me it one more time.
Jimmy Butler, Ja Morant, Devin Booker, Kawhi Leonard, and Jason Tatum.
Kawhi was injured, so I wonder if that goes into play of what they're doing. But I'm going to put Kawhi in there. Okay. They seem to like their elder statesmen.
Yeah, they do really appreciate what you have done in the past.
You have done. They want proven players. So I'm going to put Jimmy Butler in there too.
Even though everyone knows your love for Jimmy Butler.
I love Jimmy Butler. I think he's the glue guy of the team.
Hey, shout out to Sean Kanungo, by the way. He is waiting for your Sachin Sahil to die on Jimmy Butler. In a future episode.
It's coming. It's coming.
I'm waiting for that one too.
It is a hot take.
The hottest of takes. You guys
group chat lost it. Our group chat lost it.
I can't wait for you guys to hear that one. Then I want to hear what your by the way, I want to hear what your friends have to say after that one.
100%. Oh, they know.
Oh, geez.
Again, okay. I'm ostracized consistently for my like Russell Westbrook taste that end up being right. So yeah. I'll wait to play the long game. I'm not mad.
All right. So you said Kawhi, Jimmy Butler, and now you have to choose between Ja Morant, Jason Tatum, and Devin Booker.
That is hard, man. Devin got to the finals. I mean, so did Jason Tatum.
Yeah, and more recently.
Yeah, but Ja is just So sick. Are these updated, like currently updated?
This
Because
is
Jaw's playing
2K23.
like right now. Like, do they
Yeah.
update them? Because Jaw's
I
playing
mean, I don't
out
know
of his
if they
mind.
did it today, but I mean, there's a lot of factors
I'm
in
gonna
this
say,
because
I'm gonna say for this game, again, these are not my ratings, people. I'm gonna say Devin Booker.
okay, so you went
That they thought Devin Booker was that high.
Kawhi Leonard, Jimmy Butler, Devin Booker.
Yeah.
The correct answer is Kawhi Leonard. So you got that one right at 8. He is ranked at a 94. And then they have Ja Morant at a 93 with Jason Tatum at a 93. And they also have an 11th ranking, but tied at the point total, Jimmy Butler. And then
Wow.
Devin Booker slips down as the only 91.
You know what? I should actually go with my thoughts as opposed to 2K from now on. Because
Yeah.
that's what I would put Ja in there, no question, in my mind.
I
just thought
think
he was
your thoughts with 2K were on the right track though with the Kawhi thing, because there's no way I would have Kawhi in the top 10.
Kawhi makes sense to me for them to put him there.
But like he is not a
Devin
top 10
Booker
player in
was
the league
Devin
right
Booker
now.
for me was a stretch, and yeah, I should have Ja I should have done. I think I would have gotten the third one wrong, but Ja I should have done.
And I do find it I think Ja is a perfect video game character player, right? Like that's someone that you want to have rated high because people are going to want to play as the Memphis Grizzlies for him, right?
Yeah, he's the guy that was J.R. Smith in 2010 in 2K, where you could just score 50 points and jump out the gym.
The blasphemy calling Ja Morant.
No. I'm not calling him that. I'm saying in NBA 2K10, anybody that played 2K knows this. If you were J.R. Smith in NBA 2K who could shoot the three, was athletic, could drive, and could dunk, it's crazy what you could do with him. It was outlandish because he could do all this stuff. You were basically like a fake Ja Morant, even though he wouldn't do it in real life, because his statistics for those things were so high. You would just be able to dominate with JR.
I didn't know that. All right, that's good to know. So, one other thing I got to ask, because that's the top 10. How do you feel that they have Jimmy Butler at 11? Just quickly, give me your initial thoughts.
I think it's actually for 2K, that's perfect. Because everything he does, for a lot of things that he does for a team, is intangible. His intangibles have to be 99 in that game. And for me,
not
if I'm
a fun person to play as, hey?
If
like
I am
in the game,
he definitely is not the greatest player to play with in the game. Yeah, everything's really medium.
It's so mid. You know what I mean? Like Miami is just the Miami mid in 2K.
But in the NBA, if you have a guy that is full mid on everything, he will change your entire roster.
2K is the NBA.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
To this generation.
How dare I?
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Like Jimmy Butler, I think is the definition of like a professional's professional when you get to the NBA level of everything that you want a player to do. But in 2K, he is kind of the opposite of everything you want a player to do because it's just all the nitty gritty that you don't care about.
Totally. And it just happened. And he goes to teams and he changes the whole. Anyways, this is for myself.
This is a different. Okay.
Yeah.
Next question I have for you in 2K. I'm going to give you 3 players and you tell me who is ranked 1, 2, and 3 because I think this one's quite interesting. Okay. We've got Pascal Siakam.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Anthony Edwards. And we've got Cade Cunningham.
Justin, this is a hard game.
It's hard, right?
Yeah. But I do like it. Well, it's showing that we're being honest on the episode.
I like it. I like it because it makes you think about 2 factors, right? Half of your brain is thinking about the actual basketball, and half of your brain is thinking about video games.
Yes.
And like, where is their head at? And it's
totally
like a poker game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. So Pascal, Cade Cunningham, and who?
And Anthony Edwards.
Anthony Edwards. Because Pascal is balling out right now. He's on my fantasy team. He is the head of my fantasy team right now.
Now, keep in mind, 2K, I've noticed with 2K and all the other sports games, they don't upgrade players that have established ratings too much. They more swing on guys who are younger and show a big uptick.
How is Cade Cunningham doing right now? He's doing pretty well, right?
He's doing well. I mean, the team's okay, but he's doing what you would expect of him. But it's weird. Like a guy like Cade could see a bigger swing than a guy like Pascal, even if Pascal's season's well above a previous season, just because of the body of work from previous. Yeah. So I'm not trying to throw you off. Where you got
You're not. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go I'm gonna go Pascal, Anthony Edwards, and then Cade.
It's
That's
Anthony Edwards, Pascal, and then Cade. And I found that quite interesting because
me too.
Because I think Anthony Edwards is, again, a prototypical fun video game guy. And I love Anthony Edwards long term. I'd rather have him than Pascal, but currently Pascal is playing better.
Pascal does everything, man. He does everything on the court. Anthony Edwards is amazing. He can score. He's now becoming a better shooter. But that's like, the most basis of his stats. When you look at it, it's like, oh, he had 40, and then 3 and 3 or something. What is he averaging? Let's just look that up right now. I would like to actually know that information live on the podcast. I'm looking up somebody's stats.
Pascal's averaging?
No. What Anthony Edwards is averaging besides
I think points is let's see. Anthony Edwards. I feel like I should have had this pulled up, but so this year he's on 23, 6 and 4 on 46% shooting and 34 from 3. His free throws are awful.
Yeah, he's not a good free throw shooter, which is shocking to me, actually.
I didn't even realize that. I don't watch enough Minnesota games.
Actually, you know what? Those are better stats than he had last year, and that's good. But Pascal is this year a dynamo. Anyways, I think that's my statistic. But also, I wonder what his potential number is in 2K. Maybe potential matters a lot too.
Yeah, there's a lot here to kind of sift through. But so here's one I'm curious to see. Mm-hmm. If you had to give a rating to Kristaps Porzingis and then give a rating to Scotty Barnes, and keep in mind, this is in no order. So Kristaps Porzingis, Scotty Barnes, Klay Thompson. Give me your ratings for them and give me your rankings for them.
Give me your ratings? I can't.
Just a guess.
I can't give a number of a player.
Okay, I'll give you a baseline. I'll give you a baseline. Anthony Edwards.
No, don't. Let's do it completely without it. Let's do it completely.
Okay, all right.
Just because then when I mess it up, inevitably it's gonna be less embarrassing. Okay, so we'll start with Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah.
I'll give him an 82.
Okay.
Okay, and then next was
we had Kristaps Porzingis, Scotty Barnes.
Scotty Barnes, I'll give what was Jason Tatum rated again?
Jason Tatum in the top 10 was, I believe, a 93.
I'm gonna give Scotty Barnes an 86.
86? Final answer?
87 final answer.
87 on Barnes.
Out of love for you, Scotty. You're getting that extra point for love.
82. Yeah, I know that's 82 on Porzingis. And then the last one was Klay Thompson.
Klay. If they didn't give him a good shooting rating this year, I know he was pissed off about it. Man, Kristaps might be higher than 82. I'm going to put Klay at 82, and I'm going to put Kristaps at 84.
And Scotty Barnes 87.
Yeah.
So Klay's 83, and he is the lowest out of the three.
That's what I said, right?
Yeah. No, you had 83, 82 and 84. Kristaps is the highest of the three. They have Kristaps ranked at an 85. And that tells you exactly where Scotty Barnes is, at an 84. Can you imagine a world that you have Kristaps Porzingis on your team rated higher than Scotty Barnes?
I cannot.
It boggles my mind, but it's definitive, so I can't argue with it.
I'm more happy that I was close.
No, your numbers were actually really good. Your correction,
but
I'm
shocked. But I'm just shocked that is absolutely wild. Scotty Barnes is magnificent.
They have Klay and Draymond both at an 83.
It's so weird because a lot of these players that do everything are rated lower than guys who visibly look better.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Anthony Edwards looks like a stud, but Pascal Siakam on your team, he is destroying this team. He's
what has Kristaps done in the last 3 years to give him any sort of rating? Just to give you an idea, Ben Simmons is ranked the same as Klay and Draymond.
Right? No, okay.
I'm not kidding.
I'm less mad about this game now.
Oh, this is wild. This is why I didn't even realize Jordan Poole is ranked the same as Klay and Draymond. They have 3 Warriors ranked as 83. That's just lazy. That's actually just lazy.
And Steph is a 96, right?
Steph was a 96. Yeah, he was in the group of 6. 96.
Wow. You know what? I don't feel bad about this game anymore. This is literally guessing. I'm just going to go with what I think so the audience knows what I think should happen from now on instead of what I think 2K should be, because there's no way to guess this.
It's actually insane.
It's like trying to guess when it'll rain based on your knee hurting, you know?
The last one I had on here is just kind of a fun one. So I didn't know what to ask. I looked up the list of NBA 2K rankings and it went to 100. And I scrolled all the way down and I saw player 100. And I thought, wow, this is the most typical, like, what a exact facsimile of the number 100 ranking that I've ever seen. So I'm curious who you think would be player 100 on the rankings list. Now I'm going to give you a couple of clues because it's a very hard question.
Okay.
High school standout, won a championship, and has made a lot of money and had a very mid career since winning his championship.
Okay.
So this was a highly touted high school prospect.
Yes.
Won an NBA championship.
Yes.
And has had a very middling career since winning that championship. Keep in mind, it's the 100th ranked player in the league.
Yes. Okay. The 100th ranked player in the league. Highly touted out of high school. Won a championship and then has been middling ever since.
If you need one more clue that probably gives it away, I'll give it to you.
Don't give me a giving away clue. Give me another clue that's...
One could say that he probably dislikes KD more than most other players in the league.
I'm sure people are yelling at me that I should be getting this.
No, this is a tough one. This is actually a tough one.
He hates KD. Oh, who did KD beat did KD beat him in college or something?
Nope.
My knowledge of high school standouts are terrible.
Okay, well, the reason I asked you this one is because this is former Dub and the secret agent for the Cavaliers in their championship run, Harrison Barnes.
That is the perfect number 100 pick.
Isn't it?
Oh my God. I would never get that in a million years. But my God, because I completely forgot about Harrison Barnes. He was great in college, right? With that team. He was,
I remember reading that he was, and that clue could have been bad because I could be wrong.
No,
I
it was good.
remember that he had a high school standout thing was, I remember him being
not give it away. Touted. They should present like 4 pieces of the 100 piece puzzle.
But the KD one I thought was like good because he definitely probably has a little sour taste from that summer, right? Like they essentially gave him up because they couldn't pay him if they wanted to get KD. That was the summer Harrison Barnes left. People don't remember that Harrison Barnes was the reason KD was able to go to Golden State because they didn't pick up his option and then he went to free agency and that's what opened up the cap space for KD.
You know what's funny is that Andrew Wiggins, could have just been a Harrison Barnes. Like they got a really good Harrison Barnes.
Yeah, he would have been if he didn't get saved by them. That's a Harrison Barnes, 100%.
Wow. Yeah, Harrison Barnes. Like you know what? He's not a bad basketball player. You don't not want him on your team. But I think, you know what's funny is when these guys come in and they have so much behind them, you're expecting so much of them. Because like if he was a guy that we never heard about and he was playing Harrison Barnes basketball, be like, oh yeah, great.
Yeah.
You know, 100 on the list. That's awesome. Good for you, man. That's dope. But if you came in and you're like Harrison Bubba Barnes, and then it's and then you're 100 on the list, it's tough.
I gotta say, man, like that.
Wow, that's a good game, Jess. I love this game.
It's a fun game, right? Like you did pretty good. The shocking one on there out of everything was definitely the Scotty Barnes. As much slander as I threw his way in our first episode, he shouldn't be in the conversation with the Kristaps Porzingis. I don't care what Kristaps was in New York. That was half a decade ago. Mm-hmm. Barnes, like that type of player, I don't get it. Rookie of the year. And
the angriest I am at myself for not starting this game thinking about my own personal choices is that Hey, I just like to apologize for Giannis Antetokounmpo. I should have gone you number one. I know that you were number one in my heart. I was just trying to guess the game, and I thought that Jokic, being a shooter, a passer, a big man on a different team, up and coming, I thought that he would be number one, and I would just like to take this moment to apologize to you, Giannis, and I will send you all the Oreos as an apology. Thank you so much.
I'll be honest, it was better for the pod that you got it wrong. I was happy you got it wrong.
That's
I
actually
was
true.
I was waiting for you to get it wrong so I could throw it in your face after your big RRR segment. But that was fun. That was a fun game. We'll definitely have some more stuff like that in the coming weeks. Hopefully we get breaking news like this every time, because that came out of nowhere. But
special. Hey, we are blessed, man. We're blessed. We knew a day we're doing a pod, we get all this info. Last time it happened too.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. Yeah. Anyways, this has been a lot of fun, Sachin. So we'll see you all next time. Make sure you rate us on iTunes. We're on YouTube and on Instagram. Follow us on all the socials. And anything else that you want to say before we head out?
These two brown guys love
no, absolutely
basketball.
Not. Okay, guys. See ya.
These two brown guys love basketball. Brown guys love basketball. Who doesn't love basketball? So let's talk basketball. I said, let's talk basketball.